We broke Football Manager 2024. This is probably the highest goal difference gap I've seen between two teams. The second team didn't even come any closer. We went on to win the Canadian Premier League with a point difference of 20, and we lost only one game in the entire league. And funny enough, we also went to the Canadian Championship Cup final, where we were without our best central defender and best left back. We were 2-1 down at halftime, and much later Vancouver Whitecaps went on to score 3-1 in the 76th minute. Just before the end of the game, we clawed our way back in the 89th minute, and in the 90th minute we went on to score the equalizer. We went on to penalties as well, but we were unfortunate to lose on penalties 5-3. If you look at the team stats for the Canadian Premier League, we were the best team by points per game with 2.43. We also had the most goals, scoring 93. We had the fewest shots against and the most shots for, so that's 511 shots taken, and we also had the highest amount of possession. We basically dominated everything in the Canadian Premier League. We also had the least conceded and the most clean sheets. We used to be mid-table, but that's no longer the case. Unlike other tactic tests, this wasn't really a simulation. I kind of played most of the season, but if you want to go ahead and recreate this tactic, you just have to first of all set your team to play with a 4-2-3-1 system, and then ask your goalkeeper to play as a sweeper keeper on defend. The only instruction you want for your goalkeeper is to tackle harder. Next, you want to set both your fullbacks to play as fullbacks on support duty, then go ahead and ask them to take more risk, cross from the byline, cut inside with the ball, stay wider, and tackle harder. Now remember, you want to do this for both fullbacks, so make sure that both of them have the same instructions. In defense, you want to have ball playing defenders on both the left hand side and the right hand side. Then go ahead and ask your ball playing defenders to dribble more and tackle harder. In defensive midfield, you want to have one defensive midfielder on support on the right hand side and another defensive midfielder on the support on the left hand side. The defensive midfielder has only one instruction, which is to tackle harder. Both defensive midfielders also have identical player instructions. For your front four, you need an inside forward on support duty playing on both sides, so from the left and on the right hand side. And for their internal player instructions, you're going to ask them to hold up the ball, sit narrower, tackle harder, and mark specific position. If you're on the left-sided inside forward, you want him to mark the right-sided fullback of the opposition team. You do the same for the right-sided inside forward. Go ahead and ask him to mark the left-sided fullback of the opposition team. Now remember, both inside forwards do have identical instructions as well. In the number 10 role, you want an attacking midfielder playing on attack duty, and his instructions are to take more risk, roam from positions, move into channels, and tackle harder. Your center forward only has one instruction, and that is to tackle harder, and he will be playing as an advanced forward on attack. That is all for the internal player instructions. Let's go ahead to the team instructions now. We're going to start with the in possession instructions. Now you want your team to play with shorter passing and of course pass into space while they're doing so. You also want them to play low crosses, run at the opposition's defense when they're in possession of the ball. They'll also play with a slightly higher tempo. They'll look for the overlap on the left and on the right hand side because your fullbacks are going to be cutting inside. They're also going to focus their play down both flanks, and you want to shift the attacking width to be very narrow. For in transition, your team is going to counter press and counter the opposition when they have possession. You're also going to ask your goalkeeper to distribute it quickly and roll it out to any of the players that are in the defense here, or even the defensive midfielder if he becomes that deep. Now for your out of possession instructions, you want your team to play with a much higher defensive line. They're also going to play with a high press. You want your trigger press to be much more often while also preventing the short goalkeeper distribution. You can encourage your team to tackle a bit harder by turning and get stuck in. You also want to step up more and of course invite crosses, but this last one I'm not really sure if you want to leave it on all the time, so you have to kind of watch the matches and know when you're going to try to stop crosses and not invite them. Now the last but not the least is the team's mentality. You can start on balance for most teams, but I kind of enjoy this to be on attacking because it's a bit more adventurous and it's a bit more lethal when you go ahead and play with attacking mentality. So this is how we set up our team when we went ahead to dominate the Canadian League basically. So that's how you set up the tactic. Don't worry, I will attach a link in the description so you can download the tactic for yourself, but for those guys that are using, or let me say you're playing on Xbox or playing on console, you can actually go ahead and follow the video and recreate the tactic for yourself. For more Football Manager videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when they come on. I'll see you in the next video.